Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.
Hey friends, thanks for joining. Today we're going to do a video focusing on the lower back and maybe finding some ways to ease lower back pain that I know a lot of us feel, and you're probably feeling if you searched out this video. So a quick little story about me. My lower back pain is what brought me to yoga in the first place. When I moved to South Florida, I got a job moving furniture. I did that for a few years, and as any of you know who have maybe moved yourselves, takes quite a toll on the body. And coming into my late 20s, I was feeling like, how was I going to make it to 30? So I found the practice of yoga. It helped me immensely. Anytime I'm ever starting to feel any tightness start to creep up in my low back, I know the solution is found right here on my yoga mat. And I can usually get rid of anything that might creep up before it becomes serious. But if you are feeling any back pain today, maybe you are, you're feeling what you're feeling. I can never know exactly what you're feeling. Anything I went through doesn't mean you're going through it. And anything that you're going through is as unique to you as our fingerprints is to us and our DNA. So make sure you're always listening and honoring yourself. Honor what you feel inside your body. Listen to those messages that you get. Usually our body likes to send us messages. And they start off nice and subtle, and when we don't listen the first time, those messages usually intensify and go from sensations to pain. So we don't want anybody in pain today. Always listen to your body and honor your intuition and whatever you may be feeling in your body while we practice today. So I like to use as many props as possible when doing yoga. I always have a pair of blocks with me. For today's class, we're probably going to use a strap, and it might be nice to have some cushion. I like a yoga blanket, but you can use a pillow, a bolster. If you don't have a yoga strap, a belt works. Yoga blocks, not everybody has a set of yoga blocks, but anything that's square, rectangular shaped like this can usually do the trick. Maybe you've got a big book that you don't feel like reading. Well, you can get some use out of it in your yoga practice. Or even like a box of pasta is actually kind of a perfect shape for this. So, if you need to take a moment to grab whatever you need to get ready for your practice today, take that time, pause the video. We'll be right here when you get back. So we're going to start today's class in a seated position, in a cross-legged, comfortable seated position. We call this Sukhasana. Just take a moment here to ground down into your sitting bones, those little bones found right at the bottom of the tush, ischial tuberosity for my anatomy nerds, to feel those sitting bones connecting and grounding into the earth as you start to lengthen up tall through the spine. So lift the sternum, feel the shoulder blades relax down the back side of the body, and then start to elongate the back of the neck by reaching the crown up towards the sky as you slightly tuck your chin towards your chest. And then hands come to shins or knees as you inhale. Lift the chest. Stay here for a breath as you feel the sternum lifting. The back side of the body is contracting, those shoulder blades drawing towards each other. And then on your next exhale, tuck the chin to the chest and start to round the spine as you draw the back body away from the knees. Feel that space being created now on the back side of the body as the front contracts. And then inhale to lift the chest. Exhale to tuck the chin and round. And find your pace here as you follow the natural rhythm of your breath, inhaling forward, exhaling to round. Two more of these. And then on your next inhale, find that tall, long, neutral spine again. And on your inhale, arms sweep out and up. Keep reaching through the fingertips. Keep those sitting bones grounded as you start to extend and hinge forward at the hips. When you're ready, hands can come down. Spread the fingers wide here. Claw through the fingertips as you lengthen the chest forward. And then on your exhale, fold in. Maybe you bend the elbows, bring the forearms towards the floor. Maybe your forehead comes all the way towards the floor. Maybe you're all the way up here with just a slight hinge. And that's perfectly fine. Wherever you're at is perfect. And walking your hands in, start to lift the chest as you come into that long neutral spine again. Now I'm going to place my blanket underneath my hips. I like this as just a way to elevate the hips, create a little bit of space in the hip basin, open up the hip creases a little bit. It allows me to fold forward a little bit to get a little more flexibility in my forward folds. But also, if you're dealing with any back pain, any low back, sacrum area issues, this might be really nice to have that cushion underneath you. So again, on your inhale, arm sweep out and up. And exhale, hinge and fold. Keep those sitting bones grounded as you lengthen forward. But this time, start to walk your hands over so that they frame that left knee. Keep the right sitting bone grounded here as you reach through the right fingertips. And exhale as you fold in. On your inhale, lift the chest slightly. Start to walk your hands back to center. Take a breath here as you inhale and lengthen. Exhale, find something to release. And then start to walk your hands over to the other side so that they frame that right knee. And again, keep that left sitting bone grounded as you reach through the left fingertips and fold in, nose towards the knee. Keep lengthening out that left side body. But even while we're doing so, that right side body is still lengthening as well. Inhale brings you back to center. Spread the fingers wide, grip through the fingertips, lengthen the chest forward, and again, folding in. As you inhale, walk your hands in as you slowly roll up the spine. Another seated cat-cow just to give the spine a little neutralization. Hands come to knees or shins. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, tuck the chin and round. And then find that neutral spine again on your inhale. Exhale, release. And on the next inhale, arms sweep out and up. Continue extending through the fingertips. And then keeping the length on both sides, start to bring your right hand down. And then left arm comes up and over. So that left hip is going to want to lift off the floor. But as soon as it does, you've lost your grounding. So keep that left hip grounded as you lengthen through the left fingertips, opening up the side body on the left side. Maybe you slightly twist your torso and gaze up towards the elbow if the neck is okay with it. And then rise back up. Both arms raised towards the sky. And take it to the other side, keeping that length in both sides as you'll eventually let your left hand come down and reach over with the right arm. Again, keep your base, keep that right hip and right sitting bone grounded as you lengthen through the right fingertips. And maybe you even twist your torso and gaze up towards the inside of that right elbow. Pressing into the left hand, rise up. Both arms raised towards the sky. And taking a twist to the right. Left hand is going to come to right knee. Right hand is going to come behind the back. Press into the sitting bones. Lift up tall through the chest. And then twist to gaze, looking over that right shoulder. Press with your right hand into the mat to find yourself with a little more lift. And on your exhale, find a little more twist. Each inhale, finding space, finding length in the spine. Every exhale, moving into that space you've created. Next inhale brings you back. Arms raise up. And take the twist to the other side. Right hand, left knee, left hand behind the back. Press up through the sitting bones to lift up tall in the spine. Exhale, twist, gazing over that left shoulder. And then use the left hand to assist you. Press into the left hand to find a little more height. And exhale to find a little more depth in your twist. Again, using your Breath is a tool here. Inhale brings you back to center. Now either rolling over your knees or sitting on your hips, swinging one leg to the side, come into a tabletop. So we're going to remove our pad here if we were sitting on it. Knees come underneath the hips. Wrists are underneath the shoulders. Find a couple cat-cows here as you tuck your toes. Inhale, lift your chest. Feel the chest pulling through the gate of your arms as the tailbone lifts. The belly's going to lower, making that hammock shape below us. And on your exhale, untuck the toes. Press the hands into the floor, rounding the spine, reaching the back body up as the tailbone draws down, creating that arch shape. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, tuck the chin and round. Inhale brings you forward. Exhale this time as you tuck the chin, round the spine. Bring the knees about as wide as the mat and draw the hips back towards the heels, coming into a child's pose. Bringing the forehead down to the mat and then walking your hands about an inch or two closer to your body. Press into your hands to push the hips back towards the heels. When you feel the hips as close to the heels as they can go, start to extend your arms forward. And here, find a steady, natural, rhythmic breath, maybe through the nose. So as more and more science comes out, they start to see and notice some of the positive health effects of nasal breathing, especially during workouts or exercise. Here in yoga, we call this the Ujjayi breath. This is a neutral, rhythmic breath that's practiced in the practice of yoga. So maybe you can keep that breath throughout our practice today. Lift your chest a couple inches off the floor, lift your head, and start to walk your hands over to the left side. So that left arm is going to be like it was pointing at 11 o'clock if we had a clock here. Right hand is going to come on top of the left hand, maybe interlacing the fingertips here, and use the right hand holding on to the left as your place of grounding here as you draw back through the right hip, lengthening out that right side body. Inhale brings you back to center. Take an inhale and an exhale here. And then start to walk your hands over to the right. So this time that right arm is going to be pointed at 1 o'clock. Left hand is going to place on top of the right, interdigitating the fingers here as you draw that left hip back towards the left heel. Inhale walks you back to center. Hips draw back towards the heels as you fold in. On your next inhale, rising back to that tabletop. Knees come underneath the hips, about hips distance apart. Wrists are going to be underneath the shoulders. Again, just tucking the toes, lifting the chest, coming into that cat-cow. Exhale to tuck the chin, round the spine. Inhale brings you back to neutral. And then keeping the hips where they are, aligned over the knees, start to walk your hands forward. And bring the right side of your face down so that you gaze to the left. If this doesn't feel good on the neck, you can come to the forehead or even keep your head off the floor. And then switch sides, so bringing the left side of your face down as you gaze to the right. And next inhale, coming to center. So either coming to your forehead or if the neck is okay with it, bringing the chin to the mat and start drawing your chest in towards the floor. So a lot of times in yoga we'll call this puppy pose. It's a modified version of downward dog. But in Sanskrit it's known as Anahata Asana, heart pose. So the intention here is to draw the heart towards the floor, allowing the chest to just melt. On your next inhale, scoop the chest forward, bringing the groin to the floor, bring the belly to the floor. Make a pillow with your head for your hands as you bring either side of the face down to the mat and gaze towards the side. Wiggle the hips a little side to side here, just giving yourself a little massage. Switch direction, whatever way you were looking. Bring the other side of the face down. Continue to rock your hips side to side. And then start bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders. So we're going to come into Sphinx pose. Elbows are underneath the shoulders, fingers spread wide here. Move the block so you can see. Spread the fingers wide. Bring your feet about as wide as the mat here. Ground down into the tops of the feet, all 10 toes. Start to press your pubic bone down into the earth as you lengthen the chest forward. So a lot of yoga is going to be grounded and lengthening, finding grounding, and then lengthening from that place. So the place we're grounding here is that pubic bone. It is the pelvis pressing into the floor. And then the place we're lengthening from is our sternum. So this is going to be hopefully a nice release on the low back. I just got a back pop that felt great, so I know it's working for me. But again, honor and listen to your body. If this isn't feeling good, you can find a way out of it. And then exhale, release back down to the floor. This time bringing your hands about 6 inches or so off the mat, coming to the tips of the finger, bringing your gaze forward here. As you inhale, lift the chest. Again, we're staying grounded here in the tops of the feet, grounded into the pubic bone. Exhale, fold you back to the floor. Inhale, lift the chest. Maybe the ribs come off the mat. Exhale, fold you back. Inhale, lift the chest. Maybe the ribs, maybe even the belly button lifts off the floor. And exhale, floats you back towards the floor. And follow your breath here, inhaling to lift, finding a height that worked for you. Exhaling to come down to the floor. Last one, as you exhale, bring the hands in by the chest. Press yourself back to a tabletop. And then tuck the toes, lift the knees, hips draw up and back, finding a bent knee, downward dog. So keep the knees with a nice, generous bend here, allowing the chest to come towards the thighs. Start paddling the feet out one at a time. Keep the knees bent here. Heels are reaching up towards the sky. And as you start to straighten the legs, keep the heels lifting as the hips rise up. Let the heels come down to the left as you draw back through the right hip, lengthening out that right side body. Inhale brings you back to center. Keep those heels raising up. As you bring the heels over to the right side, draw back through the left hip. Inhale brings you back to center. Hips are raising up as heels are raising up. And then gently let the heels come down towards the floor. Right leg lifts. And step your right foot forward in between your hands or as close as feels good for you. So this is where I'm going to start with using some blocks. You can use some as well if you like. Place them right on the outside of that right foot. They kind of just give you a, like longer arms, or maybe even raising the floor up towards you, depending on whichever perspective you would choose to look at it. And so our back leg, our left leg, is going to be in a half split, finding an opening of the hip flexor here, a lengthening of the psoas. Usually our psoas is going to be one of the muscles that gives us that low back pain, maybe more than any others. I haven't done the research on it, but it's definitely a good guess of mine. Our society is a bent forward society. We spend a lot of time in cars. We spend a lot of time at desks. We spend a lot of time sitting in chairs and couches. This isn't a natural position for our species throughout the history of time, just the past century or so. So poses like this that allow you to open up, create a back bend, would likely do a lot of good benefiting your lower back pain. So from here, start to bring the hands to the front quad, lifting the chest. Inhale, the arms raise up overhead. And then find cactus arms here. So arms are going to open up to the side, about 90-degree bend in the elbow. Tuck the left toes. From here, start to bring the right elbow down towards the right hip. That right hand can even come to a block here as well, or reach down to the floor if it reaches. And let that left arm raise up and overhead as you press into those left toes. Shift a little forward in the hip, reaching the left arm over to the right. And from here, start to bring your left elbow to the outside of the right knee. You can stay here in a twist. You can reach that left arm down and the right arm up. Or if you like, you can bring hands together and start to twist. I'm actually going to turn around so you guys can get a better view of what I got going on here. That left elbow's on the outside of the right thigh as you twist your torso towards the prayer hands. And exhale, let that release. Let your hands come down. Step your right knee back to meet your left, coming into that tabletop. Walk your hands a little forward as you bend the elbows, lower all the way to the floor. Hands come out about 6 inches to the side again. Inhale, lift the chest, maybe belly. Exhale, folds you back in. Inhale, one more. And exhale, folds you back in. Hands come back by the chest. Press yourself back to that tabletop and tuck your toes, drawing yourself back up to that downward facing dog. Paddling out the legs. And this time lifting the left leg, reaching it back, and then stepping your left foot in between your hands or even close to it. Gently let that right knee come down to the floor. Untuck the right toes. Hands can come to floor or blocks here if you like. That allows you a little bit more space and a longer back instead of a hunched over back, just so that you're reaching the floor. Hands on the floor does not matter in this pose. A healthy spine does. Slowly starting to bring your hands to that front left quad. Press into that left quad to lift your chest. Arms raise up. And then bringing your arms back to those cactus arms, 90-degree angles. Maybe you're a football fan and you want to think of it as field goal post arms. Tucking the right toes here. And start bringing that left elbow towards the left hip. You can even bring left hand down towards the floor on a block as your right arm reaches up and over. And then pressing into the right toes to push that right thigh forward. And from here, we're going to come into our twist. So right elbow comes to the outside of the left thigh. First option is to stay here. Second option is to reach those fingers towards the floor as you twist, letting the left arm raise up towards the sky. Last option is going to be coming into prayer hands. Hands come together. Press the right elbow into the left thigh to help yourself find some resistance as you come into this twist, drawing the heart towards the prayer hands. And exhale, let your hands come down to frame the left foot. Left knee draws back to meet the right. Knees wide, draw back into a child's pose. Take a few moments of breath here. Next inhale, rise up. Let the knees come back under the hips. Tuck the toes. Press yourself up and back, downward dog. And bring your gaze forward as you slowly walk your feet to the front of the mat. So knees are bent here, allowing the chest to come towards the thighs. I'm going to turn towards you guys so you get a little bit better view. Again, knees are bent, hands down towards the floor. If hands don't reach the floor, you can always have them here on your block. Feet are about hips distance apart here, creating some space in the low back. As you start to walk your hands over to the right, start reaching through the left fingertips going as far to the right as they can. And maybe you slowly start to straighten that left leg as you lift the left hip. Bend back into that left knee. Walk your hands through center, over to the left side, and keep reaching through those right fingertips here as you start to straighten the right leg, lifting the right hip. And bend back into the right knee. Come back to center. Inhale, halfway lift, find length. To reach the chest forward here, you're going to be in basically a right angle, vertical from the heels to the hips, and then a horizontal line from your sacrum to the crown of the head. Keep a long neck here as you tuck the chin towards the chest, and core is drawing in towards the belly. Belly button drawing in towards the spine. Exhale, fold you back in. And now keep that belly button drawing in towards the spine as you slowly start to roll up to standing. Stacking the vertebral column as you rise up. Head and shoulders come up last. Grounding into that right foot, start to step the left foot back. So you're going to find a wide stance here, about as wide as one of your legs is long. Maybe a little shorter, maybe a little wider, depending on your anatomy and what feels good for you in this moment. So hands are going to come to the hips. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, start to hinge at the hips as you fold forward. Maybe this is enough. Maybe you can bring your hands down to the floor or a block. Maybe, if you like, your hands can walk in line with your fingertips as you draw the crown of the head towards the floor. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Lift the torso so that it becomes parallel with the floor. Hands to the hips on the exhale. On your inhale, draw yourself back up to a standing position. This time, heels are going to come in. Toes are going to point out. So toes should be pointed at the corners of your mat as your heels are angled inward. Hands are going to come to the inside of the thighs. Be careful not to put your hands on the inside of the knees and press into the knees. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to create a knee injury. So hands on the inside of the thighs here. As you bend the knees and sink the hips, start to draw the right shoulder in as you press into that right thigh. Inhale back to center. Exhale, press into that left thigh. Inhale brings you back to center, and straighten the legs here. As you bring your feet back to a parallel with each other, parallel to the short edges of your mat. And then turn your left foot to face the back of the mat as your right foot stays parallel. Arms open up. And then bringing your right hand to your hip, start to reach your left fingertips towards the back of the mat until you can't reach anymore. And then left hand is going to come to the inside of that left shin. Start to roll open your chest. So notice your alignment here. That right shoulder is going to be aligned right over the left shoulder. Right hip is aligned over the left hip. As right arm starts to reach up towards the sky, coming into our triangle pose. And then bring your bicep over your ear, reaching your right fingers towards the back of the mat. And then drawing back through that right hip, finding a lengthening of your right side body here. Right arm reaches back up to the sky. Rise up. Arms come to a T. Left foot comes back to parallel with the back side of your mat. As right foot turns to face the front side of your mat. And start to lean forward with the right fingertips till you can't reach anymore. Right hand, back of the hand comes to the inside of the shin as your left hand and left shoulder rotate open so that you're stacking shoulder over shoulder, hip over hip. And when you're ready, left bicep is going to come over the ear and reach the fingers towards the front of the mat as you draw back through that left hip. Inhale, reach up through the left fingers, come back to standing, bend into the right knee as you step your left foot forward to meet your right. So now gently coming down to the floor, whichever way feels comfortable and safe to you. For this pose, I'm going to place my blanket underneath my sitting bones, give myself a little cushion here for my low back. And extend the legs in front of you. Now you might like a bend in the knees here. That might feel good, especially if you're feeling some crunchiness in the low back. As you start to walk your hands forward and hinge over those thighs, you can grab the feet and fold forward. In this variation, bent knees are way better than a hunched back. So keep a long spine here. Keep elongating through the sternum. That sternum pulling forward should create space and length in the low lumbar vertebra. So don't worry so much about what the posture looks like. Worry more about how you feel. In this pose, you could be grabbing your shins as well. If the feet are not available, you could take your strap, bring them around the feet, especially if you prefer to have straight legs in this pose. That's a nice option as well. Give you some resistance. And let that release. We're going to counter with either a reverse table or a reverse plank. So you can either bring the soles of your feet to the floor, press up into a reverse tabletop, or if you like, keep the legs extended, press into the heels and the hands to lift the hips. And let that release. Coming into a wide V position here, and then start to bring your left foot in towards the groin. Hands are going to frame that left knee. You start to turn your torso towards that left side. And then when you're ready, right hand is going to come either inside the right shin, maybe on top of the right shin, or you can even grab the big toe there with your peace fingers as your left arm raises up and over towards that right foot. Finding lengthening here of the left side body. I know a lot of times we feel crunchiness in the middle of our back, but that lengthening of the side body can usually create a little bit of ease and release of tension we feel, even if it's not directly where we feel it. And let that release. Bring your left hand down behind you. As you press into your left hand, lift the hips. Right arm raises up. Find a little back bend here. Just a counter. And then take it to the other side. Extend that left leg. Bring your right foot to the inside of the left thigh or even groin. And start to turn your torso towards that bent right knee. Left hand is going to come inside of the left shin, on top of the left shin, or maybe even peace fingers grab the big toe as your right arm reaches up and over. And I didn't say this on the last side, but if you're hypermobile, you have a lot of flexibility, you can easily reach this right hand and grab this left foot. Grab it on the outside of the foot and start to twist your torso in between your arms towards the sky. It's a pretty advanced option, not one that I would be taking, even on a day where I feel really open. But, want it to be out there in case anybody has that availability. And gently let that release. Let your right hand come down to the floor behind you. Press into the right hand. Lift the hips. Let the left arm raise up towards the sky and find that back bend here to counter what those forward crunches we just did. So the last one of our seated postures before we come to our backs. Bring your feet together here, about a foot and a half in front of you. Press into the feet to open up the knees and start to hinge forward. Hands can stay on the feet. You can walk arms underneath the feet. Palms coming to the top. Arms underneath the legs and palms coming to the tops of the feet. Or even if you like, walk your arms out to the side and fold forward. Head comes towards the feet. Slowly rising up. As you close the legs, walk the feet about as wide as your yoga mat. As you lay back and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Maybe feet are even a little wider than your yoga mat here. And next time your left knee draws into the center, make sure it's right here in the center of your mat. If your knees are okay with it, you can bring right foot to the top of the left thigh to help draw it down. And you can even lengthen up through the left fingertip here, around the left thigh body. Let that release. Right foot comes off the left. Windshield wiper a little side to side. And then next time that right knee comes into your center line, maybe left foot comes on top of the right as you extend up through the right fingertips. And let that release. Bring your feet about hips distance apart, right around the edge of your fingertips length here, so your fingers can touch your heels. If they're not touching, that's okay, but just that general area. And then reach your arms overhead. Let the arms come down to the floor as you slowly start to lift the hips and the low back, followed by the middle back. Extend the arms up towards the sky, reaching through the fingertips. And then bending the elbows, bring the elbows down to the floor, press into the elbows to lift the hips, finding a bridge pose here. If you like, you can bring hands all the way down to the floor. You can even grab the sides of your yoga mat and pull on your yoga mat using that resistance to lift the hips, find a little bit more of a back bend, and then gently let that release down to the floor. Hug the knees into the chest. Rock a little side to side. And then keeping the right knee hugged in, start to extend the left leg long. Right arm out to the right. As you take a supine twist, right knee comes to the left side, gazing over that right hand. Use your breath to soothe whatever sensation your body may be feeling right now. Let your inhale bring you back to center. Left knee hugs into the chest. Right leg extends long here. Stay for a moment hugging that left knee in. And when you're ready, left arm opens up to the left. Left knee crosses the body to the right side as you come into a supine twist over here. And let your inhale draw you back to center. Hug the knees into the chest and rock a little side to side. Taking these next few moments to allow yourself a shavasana, a resting period. You can bring your feet down to the mat and let your knees knock in, or maybe even bringing a pillow or blanket underneath the knees as you extend them long. Take care, guys. Thanks for practicing. Namaste.